Good day, everybody. My name is Ana-La-Rai, and I am a Pure Source channel. And welcome to the Sparkles of Love transmissions. And today, what we're going to be talking about is trusting your guides and your higher or highest self. That's what we're going to talk about today, because I found out recently that, I'm just getting my questions up here, that many people don't know or don't trust their guides. When working with clients recently, I found out that several people that I work with and others I've been talking to since have had trouble trusting their guides and their highest self. And it was a surprise to me. And so I really felt it was probably, and the guides came through and wanted to talk to everybody about it. Have you ever had the time where you were uncertain whether to follow the information that you received from within you, from whether you call it your highest self or your soul, your guides? Anybody ever had that happen? So trust is really the basis for working with guides and moving forward with that connection with the higher parts of yourself. Because if you can't trust the information, if you can't trust the feelings or the guidance, then you're stalled. How do you step forward in any way, shape, or form? So when someone said to me that they felt like their highest self or their soul, their divine self, wasn't working with them for their best interest. And I kind of teased them and kind of chuckled, and I said, oh my gosh, your highest self and your guides are your best friends. They want what's best for you. They have a view and an overview and a perception that we don't necessarily have here in human form. So where I would start is that, first of all, before you get to the point of trusting your guides, you have to know who your guides are. And that doesn't mean you need to know their name, but you have to recognize their vibrational signal. So you have to know that it's your guides that you're talking to, right? And secondly, you want to make sure that your guide is of a high vibration. You don't want fourth dimensional guides. You want higher vibrational guides, okay? And I did a YouTube a while ago about working with guides. So you can go back and take a look at that one as well, because there's a little more details on all the how-tos there. But once you recognize at least one guide, and if you're starting working with guides, just start with one. And as you start to work with them, you want to start with simple things, with just trusting that it's them and feeling that energy, so that when they show up, that you always know, okay, this is them. This isn't some other being that's coming through. This is who I'm working with. And once you get started there, you can also ask your guide that the two of you decide or set up on some sort of signal that you, if you need extra, that you know that it's them. Okay. And you can always ask them, who is this? And for those of you that hear your guides, they have to answer I am and their name 3 times in a row, so that you know that's a universal truth, so that you know that it's them. Okay. But if you don't hear your guides, then there's a little challenge there. So the vibrational signature is the easiest. Okay. So that you know when you close your eyes and you call them to be present with you, you feel their energy and you start to recognize it. Generally, what happens is that you want to start with small things. So you want to start with asking simple questions and asking for guidance on very simple things. Okay. Things like show me the simplest route to my destination. So, sorry, all these technical difficulties here. So, you want to start with really simple things. Okay. You're not asking big life purpose questions, or you're not asking urgent questions because you want to build that level of trust. So, when you start, it's really important to start simply and slowly so you build that trust. And one of the things that happened to me is when I really started my journey at the very beginning, and I was told by I had been at a retreat and was had learned started to learn a little bit of healing energy, and we were supposed to work on people every week. And so I would merge with Dr. Lorfin, back then the head of the Galactic Healers, and I knew nothing. I didn't know any of the anatomy. I didn't know any of the guides. I was as a beginner as they get. And what would happen is that when I was working on people who were friends, they weren't paying for services, they were coming as I would practice, my hands would go poof, and it would move over here, or something would go here, or I'd hear a word, kidney, or a piece of anatomy, and my hand would go and we'd do the energy work. And then at the end, there would always be something I'm sharing with them about what we did. And in almost every circumstance, what I shared ended up being something they would say, well, how could you know that? Nobody knows that. And or when I was done and they had left, I would go look and find out in the body where exactly the kidneys were or whatever they were having me work on. And I'd open an anatomy book and it was exactly where they'd put my hands. So what happened is I started my process of trusting, and that's how I started, because every time I would get an affirmation that, oh, that's correct, that's correct, that's correct. Or the client would say, how could you know that? The only people to know that is my mom, my dad, and my physician. How could you know that? So I was getting affirmations, and you can ask your guides to start with giving you affirmations of information, or affirmations that you can see and build the trust. Because uh, as you build that trust, more information and more connection can come through. Okay. So what happens is, as you move forward with all of this, the vibrations get stronger, right? And how your guides communicate with you can change slightly. You might start to get visuals, you might start to hear more, you might feel more of their connection. Maybe they give you lots of synchronicities, and every interaction with guides is different. Every interaction with the guides is different, and you're going to set up yours. And I would really recommend, when you're starting, to work with one guide or maybe two guides, because it's easier, because then it's easier to build the trust. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by all of the video shutting on and off as well too. So just 1 second here. So, and this is funny because my guides are saying, just trust. Just trust. Don't worry about it. You can still hear me. So, as you begin to trust, and as you start to see the affirmations of trust, or the validation of what they've told you, or the information they give you, or the nudge you had, because if you don't hear them yet, it might just be nudges. You feel like there's this little nudge or little tap on your shoulder to do something, or say something, or turn to this station, or drive down this road, or go to this bookstore, or all of the call this person, all of those little nudges. As you start to trust them, and you might even call them synchronicities, then more and more will come. But if you don't trust them, if you move into doubt all the time, then you can't build that relationship with your higher self, or the highest self and your guides, and it leaves you stuck, Because if you can't trust them, how do you move forward? It's pretty difficult. And well, I would say it's even more than pretty difficult. It's almost impossible. And when I started channeling the Alchemy Collective 11 years ago, one of the things that came up is I said to them, but this was a different agreement. You could try this with your guides, but this was a different agreement because it was planetary work. I said I would only channel them if they would guarantee me that nothing that would come through was incorrect, or that if something, that I could only bring through truth. And so that was our agreement, because I didn't want to have to worry when I'm doing all of the planetary work that what was coming through was something that I could be in doubt about. And any of you that have worked with me with the alchemy, I had to be in trust, well, with the alchemy and my own work in Sparkles of Love, because so much of it is sensational. It's so amazing and beyond my imagination. And the other thing is, if you remember from the video I did about working with your guides, is that when your guides are communicating with you, especially those of you that actually hear them, is it drops in. It doesn't come from the left or the right or behind you. It kind of feels like it just dropped in and the thought isn't even yours. So when you start to trust them, and that trust grows, then you can start to invite and work with other guides and do a similar process of learning to trust them. Because, I mean, the reality is there are vibrations and beings out there still that are happy to deceive you, that are, wanting to distill doubt in you. Because when we're in doubt, we can't get our vibration higher, right? It just keeps dropping you down. It keeps dropping you down. When I first worked with clients, one of the things that I did is when I was channeling for them and giving them information on situations or doing readings with them back in the beginning, and they'd say, oh, that doesn't resonate with me, or that's not true. I can remember the very first time I was like, oh my goodness, I can't, how could this be wrong? Because I could feel the truth in it when it comes through me. And it threw me off as a very, very beginner, once or twice. And then my guide said, go deeper. And so what we would do is I would ask more questions and we'd go deeper. And every single time the information was correct. Every single time the client would say, oh, I forgot about that, or, oh, now that makes sense. So you really want to learn to move into that level of trust, because then you can move to higher vibrations. You can receive more energy, more information, more guidance. And you can start to have a two-way conversation with your highest self, with your higher selves, with other pieces of you and of your guides, and even with source, so that your life can improve. It's, you know, it, it's like when you're a child and your mother or your father guides you and says, oh, don't do that, or go here. And you feel safe and protected, and you feel, they have your best interest at heart. And that's what it's like with the guides. They really want to see you succeed. They really want to see you have a beautiful, joyful, grateful life. They want to see you in abundance and growing and supporting others and being happy. They don't want to see you suffering. Yes, they want you to learn your lessons, but they really want to see each of us succeed. And so start the process of asking them to show you that the information is correct, or developing a way that you can connect with your guides and your higher and highest self, so that there are little baby steps that the trust builds. And don't do it with things like lottery tickets or stuff, because that's just silly. You want to do it with really, really simple things. in the very beginning. Very, very simple things so that you start that process, and then the stronger the process gets, it continues to kind of snowball. It gets bigger and stronger. I mean, so much so that a number of years ago, I was having episodes that most people would have rushed to the hospital with because they thought you were having a heart attack. And they were really, really scary, and they were very physical, pains in my chest and tightening and all the stuff they talk about when you're about to have a heart attack or a heart attack is starting. And I would go in and I'd ask, do I need to go to the hospital? Am I having a heart attack? And my guides would answer, no, you're fine. You are not. Just continue to breathe, open your heart, bring in the love. And it went on for days, actually a few weeks. And it would stop and then I'd be okay. And then it would come back. And I really, really trusted them. And then I set up a little criteria for myself, because even though I trusted them, there was that little human piece that was like, ooh. And so I said, okay, after a few weeks of it, I said, okay, if this happens one more time, then I'm going to go and at least check out, and my guide said, yeah, absolutely. So when it happened one more time, I said, okay, I said to my husband, okay, we're going to the hospital. I need to check this out. And my guides said, no, go. Everything's okay. And so I go in, and this is during COVID, and I go into the hospital and there's no one there. It was empty. They see me right away. They take blood work and they monitor my heart and they do all these things. And they said, your heart is so strong and healthy. And my guides were kind of chuckling, and everything was perfect. And it was really just this learning for me and this letting go. And, you know, so you can always ask. You can always ask your guides. And the more you learn to trust them, the more information they're going to bring through. Okay. So someone says, I'm at the point that I trust my intuition and synchronicities. I wonder if there's fears in me that are limiting to open more my gifts. So I'm getting, yes, there are. So more fears still there. And you know what? You're trusting your intuition and your synchronicities is a great, great place to start. But there is, for you, Araciel, let me just see here. For you, there is some issues with past experiences with guides, and they weren't, you thought you were working with guides of the light, and you weren't. And so there's some trust issues there. Okay, so someone says, I sometimes see 1111 or similar numbers on my clocks after having a good insight. I take that as my guides saying yes to me. I love it. Love it. And those seeing the clock the same times, or 1111, or those similar numbers that people see, can mean different things for everybody, But work with your guides and learn to trust, because it is a process. You don't just trust automatically. So the first thing, again, is recognize their vibrational frequency. Recognize your guide's vibrational frequency, because that's where you have to start the process of trust. And then it's baby steps. Start with simple, simple things. And as more information is correct, then it allows you to go deeper. And another says, sorry, there's cannot delineate the fears or blocks to release them. Okay, let me do a real quick scan here, Kushala. Let me see. So around guides, around trusting your guides, or around what? around the doubt. And the reality is, okay, so if you want to write in and tell me, Kushala, the reality is that they're not always simple things to release when you have trust issues, right? It can be very deep. It can be from multiple lifetimes with multiple factors. So it's not always a, you know, one and done. It can be the root of something very, very deep within you. So you can okay, so you can hear your guides better. So hearing guides is really a much deeper, it's a deep process in terms of it involves so much levels of trust, right? So you have to clear all of your fears of not trusting, and not trusting also starts with humans, right? So if you don't trust people around you, if you don't trust yourself, if you don't trust friends or family, or if you've been betrayed many times or hurt, then it's really hard to trust. And if you can't trust humans around you, then it's hard to also trust your guides, right? Or if you've had experiences where you've been deceived by tricksters before on the energetic levels, or then it becomes much deeper and there's a lot more clearing work to do with it. Okay, so let me just take a quick look, Kusala, and see if I can get you one little piece here. Kushala. So there's some real issues around feeling that people and guides are trying to manipulate you. So that's where part of it comes, and you could take a look at this lifetime and past lifetimes, where that comes from. But I can feel this fear of manipulation by others, fear of being taken advantage of. Okay, and oh, wow. It comes around, it also flows into your abundance stuff, so that the fear of having a lot, that people will try and take it away from you and manipulate you. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of that. It's a big ball of string, so to speak. Okay. All right. All right. Any other questions before I'm going to do a short download today, with the vibration of patience, because I figured, since we're talking about working with guides and building trust, that patience was probably a good thing to vibration for to download. And so let's get started. So I'm going to ask everyone to close your eyes and just see or feel or sense as we get connected to the light. And just feel now as I bring down that vibration or energy of patience. And here's an example of trust. You have to trust it's coming. It is, whether you feel it or not. And I'm just going to go into the silence here. I'm going to download for 5 minutes, and then I'll answer if there are any more questions. All right. That was a download of patience, and it looks like the video popped back on. So, one thing I do want to comment on, Adacel was saying that she trusts her intuition and her synchronicities. You don't have to work with guides. I choose to, but you don't have to. Many people live their whole life working with simply their intuition and their synchronicities. But even that takes trust, right? So work with, and you can develop trust bit by bit with individuals or with situations. It doesn't mean you have to trust everything all at once, right? And that's why understanding the vibrational signature, if you are working with guides, is important, right? So you can start to build that relationship and the steps of trust come. Okay, Ulrich just had a good insight. Trust and truth are closely related. We can trust if we feel the truth in our hearts. Beautiful. Yeah. And remember, you've heard me say this many times, truth is a vibration. You can feel it, as Ulrich is saying, but you can feel it in your body. So that's why it gets easier and easier to build your trust as you feel the truth coming in, and then as you see the physical manifestations of those truths. Okay. All right. So I want to remind you or let you know a couple of things. If you like this background, this is one of my paintings, and it will be available in the shop very quickly. Soon, if it's not now, I can't remember. And the other thing is, if you haven't been to my website lately, sparklesoflove.love, I have created a new quiz called the Accelerated Awakening Quiz. And it's a really short quiz. It takes you about 5 minutes. But what it does is it helps you pinpoint at this time in your life which path helps you awaken quicker, which path helps you accelerate for those of you who want to awaken, who want to remember more of who you are and bring through more of your gifts and abilities. And it's on the front page of my website, sparklesoflove.love. So, and we're going to put the link down below so you can just click on it and take the quiz and find out which path. And then you'll get a little bit of information on your path and then the other paths, and a couple of free gifts along the way. So, all right, everybody. It has been great to be here with you today, even with the video and the technical difficulties. So I trust that it all worked out for everybody. And thank you so much for being here. Bye for now.